For the main event, it's the Shoeshine. What up, everybody? I got your hat. What up, everybody? It's the Shoeshine, the return of the Shoeshine Monday nights. I'll never disrespect you like that. It's your boy Dave from the 408 coming to you from my podcast studio at my house in San Jose, California. Joining me tonight for a very special show, all the way from the city of brotherly love, Philly Irish Drew Evo. What's up, Drew? The anguish, any anxiety?
I feel normal, man. I don't know why people are getting all hype or say, oh, Drew's pissed off about taking a pie. I don't care.
Yeah, and that's what people are here for. We're here for that. But hey, let me introduce our friend also, all the way from Rawboxingtv on YouTube. Always a delight to have Ranger Matos on the show, who just had a fire show of his own on YouTube. Glad to have you, Ranger.
Thank you, man. We just landed a first round knockout, man, in my show. So appreciate the invitation for being here. Always a pleasure. Always.
Yeah, and I do want to talk about that. And I know Drew wants to talk about that because Boo Boo Andrade is a hot topic because I got that video. But this weekend belonged to Canelo, despite Floyd Mayweather trying to steal the thunder, trying to steal the limelight once again. Floyd Mayweather up to his old antics. Let's say hello to some people on the chat. Sonteo Media, what is up? Thank you for coming by. We got our homeboy here, A-Rod Boxeo, Chicano Prophet in the house, Bella Bling for now. Thank you so much for coming by. And of course, people want to see G Funky Orale. So let me just do a quick shout out to everyone at the Leave It in the Ring radio network. David Duenas, who was, I still haven't found out what good stuff he was doing in Las Vegas. And of course, his co-host Emil Carr, who did that thing earlier today. And of course, G Funky and Dstyles, who won the bet. And that's what most people are here to see, is this bet. So this weekend was all about Canelo, guys. And a lot of people right now are probably, well, people who doubt Canelo, is the doubt finally going to go away? I'll start with Raw Boxing because it's kind of directed at Drew. Is the doubters starting to go away?
The doubt will never go away when he's referring to a great fighter. We've seen it throughout the whole history of boxing. The great fighter is always ducking somebody. Why? Because he's got so many options. So the minute he chooses one of his options, then the other options are like, you see, he ducked me to fight so-and-so. And then when he comes back and fights the other option, then the other one says, see, told you guys, he ducked me to fight so-and-so. And that is the beauty of being great. Everybody wants a piece of your pie, no pun intended.
Drew Evo, has the torch finally been passed down? Can you sense that the passing of the torch is complete, that we basically have now the undisputed pound-for-pound champion as Canelo Alvarez, and Floyd Mayweather has passed that torch? I mean, there's no doubting that he's the A side and is going to command all negotiations in future bouts. Can you agree at least on that?
Well, he did bring up pie as a thing to come at me with, but okay. But here's the thing: Canelo is pound for pound number one.
I know. We can start there.
I did say
hallelujah.
I said before I said the Sanders fight, I said he was pound for pound number one now. So, like, to tell you the truth, he's the cash cow of boxing now. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, I said this every time: everybody is beatable.
No doubt. Every fighter has to know when to take his final bow.
It's rarely a fighter retires unbeaten in this sport. Now, I'm not saying, because Canelo is not unbeaten, but you know what I'm saying. But people are coming along thinking Canelo might not lose again in his career. But the thing is, I don't expect Canelo to fight past 35. I think he's gonna retire within a couple years. Because here's the thing: he went up to light heavyweight and won a title. He most likely will go undisputed if the Caleb Plant fight happens, which I predict will not happen next. because of he already ducked the fight. He already ducked the fight 3 times already, Caleb Plant. And I like Caleb Plant, but he ducked the fight 3 times already.
All right, so we're agreeing on the same facts. We know that Caleb has ducked this fight. Rawboxing today, I was just thinking about, and I was engaging people on Twitter, but I really think that Caleb Plant probably has some master plan to price himself out of this fight. Is that entirely possible?
Look, it's not only the pricing out, and forgive me, my eyes are burning. It's not only the pricing out. That might be a plan, and congratulations, that's a good one. But I also see him implementing, like somebody said, I think it was D-Style in my show that said about the time. I need a tune-up fight before I can fight him because it's not fair. He's been active and I haven't. Well, whose fault is that? You know what I mean? At first, he turned down the fight because, according to him, 7 weeks or 6 weeks was not enough to prepare for a fight like that. Now he has all the way till September, which is enough time to prepare for a fight like that. He fought just a few months ago. So my whole thing is, when is the time, the right time? I believe if he turns down this fight, that train needs to keep going and never look back. Never. You don't often get a chance at the face of boxing more than once. And if you turn it down once and you turn it down twice, the train should just keep going and never come back for you, ever. And I think Canelo will move to 175 and destroy Beterbiev. I'm saying it here first. Canelo Alvarez will destroy Beterbiev.
You bring up a really good point that I want to delve into a little bit later. The discussion about these very competitive guys at 175 pounds. The list includes Bivol, who's already admitted that he would be willing to move down to 168. So that, to me, if I'm Canelo, you want to take a weight drain? That's the first guy at 175, the real threat I'm taking. Because Canelo did the same thing to him. And Canelo jumped at the opportunity. The biggest payday of his life. Bivol hasn't made a humongous payday yet. So Beterbiev, 35 years old or whatnot, Canelo can wait him out. He can also take an easier fight against a Joe Smith Jr. at 175. The scorecards. Let's get to this chat. The greatest of all time says, G Funky, I don't know how you gave BJ Saunders 3 rounds. I was in G Funky's interactive live this Saturday, and I was just scoring it as I was going. I wasn't penning it down, but at the half, I did have it a draw. So I know I'm going to take some heat for that. I had it a draw at 6, but I clearly stated to Chicano Prophet, who's also here, the time for him to take over, take control, those body shots, the power shots that he's been setting up, you're going to see it. Basically what we saw happen within 2 rounds. I was actually surprised that it happened so fast. But Drew, a lot of people here want to know, is it lemon pie? Well, we're going to find out. You guys are going to have to stick around until the end of the show. But Drew, what surprised me is that you thought that Billy Joe could possibly get the decision win.
I had him up at the time of the stoppage, 77, 75.
Oh, you shouldn't say that. You shouldn't say that.
I don't care. But
no, I got you. The scorecard.
His punch count decreased for 3 straight rounds. And Billy Joe's went up and he was leading.
Can I ask Drew a question? Based on what do you had him going up? And then I'm going to reply. I already know what you're going to say, but I'm going to reply to you after that.
For 3 straight rounds, even though if he was conserving energy or not, Canelo's output went down. Billy Joe's went up and he was landing. So you have to really give the rounds to the guy that's landing and being more aggressive, that's actually demonstrating the ring generalship, because he was actually moving around, landing combinations on Canelo, while Canelo was continuing to go for 1 punch at a time to the body. And the thing is, I didn't get at the time, why'd you stop going for the body? You could have softened him up, probably got him out of there earlier.
It's called baiting your opponent. I'm going to start with that one for that last question. Then I'm going to go back to the first one. It's called baiting your opponent. It's called having an opponent in front of you who is very defensive minded. It's called incentivizing him to open up, so that when he opens up, you have open doors to come in and hurt him. You're not going to be an attacking monster in front of a defensive fighter constantly and expect him to open up to allow you to hit him. So what do? You retract a little bit, allow him to feel comfortable, and allow him to come at you. Because only can you counterpunch a fighter when he's attacking. That's one, to answer the last question. Two, I gave Canelo the first. I gave Billy Joe Saunders the first, the fifth, and the sixth.
Which was very competitive, right? That's competitive.
Exactly.
That was the discussion we were having. Was Billy Joe Saunders going to be a competitive opponent, a world champion? This was no easy fight. People were saying it was going to be an easy fight. Maybe they're not.
So at the time of the stoppage, I'm sorry to cut you off, but at the time of the stoppage, I had it 5-3 in favor of Canelo. Now, here's another thing we need to start looking at, because I see this mistake being made in boxing constantly, not only by YouTubers, but by the people that are keeping the unofficial scorecards. You can throw 40 punches, and 38 will land in the gloves, and one might land in, and you might get two as clean. That doesn't mean you're outworking your opponent. When you're throwing 38, landing, or 38 is an exaggeration. When you're throwing 7 punches, landing 2 that are not power shots, right? And your opponent is one shot at a time, consistently breaking you to the body, catching you on your way out with an uppercut to the neck, to the chest, and to the body, going with a lead left hook to the body, coming up with another right hook to the body. You can't tell me that because he threw 7 consecutive punches and landed 2, that means outworking. There is effective pressure. There is effective landing. That wasn't effective landing for a lot of the time, except for the 5th and 6th round. Then I thought Billy Joe Saunders having a good momentum, but I also knew what was going on. You cannot beat Canelo and be like, I'm going to keep attacking. If you notice, the minute Billy Joe Saunders started pulling with his jab, throwing the jab, and he noticed that Canelo was bobbing and weaving, slipping and sliding, and then coming back with one of his own and leading attacks to the body, Billy Joe Saunders went on his defensive mind. So defensive that at time Canelo had him against the rope very easy. Because his focus was no longer to be in the fight. His focus was to try to get Canelo, make him miss so he can counter, but avoid from getting hit, right? So what does Canelo does? He allows Billy to open up. It's called incentivizing the fighter. I've talked about it plenty of times on my videos, especially from the mid-range. Where was Canelo fighting at? The mid-range. Why? Billy Joe Saunders had the more reach. So yeah, Billy Joe Saunders did good, but Canelo had a lot to do in that. And what happened when he did open up? The rest is history.
Drew, let me come to Drew's defense on a couple of issues now.
Okay.
A couple of issues. Okay. Last week, of course, we had a heated discussion. He had a heated discussion with Dstyles, but very classy. Both of them are very classy. They made this bet, this wager, and the words fanboy was thrown around way too loosely. Okay? Now, I just want to give you the clear definition of what fanboy is. Okay? Known for a complete lack of objectivity in relation to their preferred focus, that'd be Canelo Alvarez, usually argues with circular logic that they refuse to acknowledge. Arguments or debates which such are usually futile. Even flaws are spun into semi-virtues, and everything else is blown to comedic or complimentary proportions. Fandom. Fandom is like basically being proud of your national soccer team, Mexico, or being proud of the Irish soccer team or whatnot. You have to give Drew a little bit of leeway that they're Irish brothers, Irish heritage, Tyson Fury, and they're Irish travelers. That may influence people at times the same way we're influenced to support Canelo Alvarez if you're Mexican or Mexican American, right? There's an element to that of being a fan of the sport of boxing, right? So, Drew, did that sway you a little bit?
No, because I tell you the truth, I bet against 2 Irish fighters. I bet it against Jamal. I bet Jamal Howard's going to beat Carl Frampton, and he's Irish. I bet it against Katie Taylor. She's Irish. I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't care what nationality you are, or even if I'm a fan of you. But if I think a fighter's going to beat you, I'm going to say a fighter's going to beat you. Because at the end of the day, we are fans of the sport of boxing.
Yes, sir.
And if I don't think that fighter that I like is good enough to beat a fighter that day, I'm going to tell you, that guy's not good enough to beat that guy. He's going to lose that guy. I did research on my own time watching fights and everything before I picked my fights.
Ranger, we saw Drew. Sorry to interrupt you, but I think we saw the best of Billy Joe Saunders against Canelo. Drew, do you think that was an absolutely 100% Billy Joe Saunders, and he came up shy in terms of power? You guys will agree that he did not possess the power to keep Canelo off him, to earn his respect, and also. Well, go ahead, Ranger. On terms of even power, the most important thing, and I want to bring something up about that.
Well, I don't think it was just power, Dave. I think that Billy Joe Saunders and his team made the same mistake a lot of YouTubers made. I think they were still focused on the Canelo from 6 years ago.
The Canelo
that couldn't cut a ring. Mm-hmm. The Canelo that was easily hunted by a jab. The Canelo that was easily opened by a 1-2. The Canelo that was easily flat-footed and you can land a 1-2 and pivot around him. And that was one of the major issues. In fact, they talked about it on the lead up for the fight. And then on top of that, you add the power. On top of that, you add the fact that Canelo now loves slipping and sliding, bobbing and weaving, right? So I can see why Billy Joe Saunders went in there and still did good, but he faced a Canelo he wasn't expecting. And every time Canelo moves into a different fight with a different fighter, he's showing something new, and that's why you see these fighters shocked. Who would have thought that Canelo would have outclassed, completely shut down Callum Smith? But it happened. Mm-hmm. Because he showed something that he hadn't shown before. And I think that was one of the things that happened to Billy Joe Saunders and his team. They faced a guy that they never thought they would see.
Listen, guys, I just want to let everybody know we do have a live phone line. If you want to chime in on this, 702-710-3627. Did Billy Joe just underestimate Canelo? Drew?
No, game plan worked for a little bit, and then it went sour because Canelo adjusted.
Yes, thank you.
And the thing is, he did the same thing, put his head down so many times that eventually he was going to do it and get caught with an uppercut. You cannot repeat the same pattern against a fighter like that. You have to change it up. It's called adjusting.
Mm-hmm. Something Canelo's doing very well. I mean, I haven't seen anyone adjust like this since Floyd.
Correct. But you know why he did that, Drew? He had to adjust. And Billy Joe Saunders had to dip that low, because if you notice, there was a couple times when Billy Joe Saunders landed that jab and then Canelo adjusted to the jab, and every time that jab was coming, Canelo would slip it and come back with a straight right of his own. Because when a southpaw is fighting an orthodox fighter, each fighter is open for a counter right, straight cross from their jab. And guess what? Nobody wants to get hit from a straight right from Canelo, so I guess he figured I can hit and duck. Well, guess what? The problem is Canelo was also making sure that he would dip down, because if you notice throughout the buildup of the fight, Canelo was working that uppercut awful lot, man. All of his posts on Instagram, uppercut, 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 uppercut. So that's what I'm saying. People are looking at Canelo and they're not reading what's going on. The same mistake is made with Virgil Ortiz, and I don't want to make this about him. We're looking at fighters and we're not reading what they're doing. These are fighters that are in there dissecting their opponent, the momentum of the fight, and trying to grab the steering wheel to see how can they drive their opponent to set the traps and corner them where they want to. And this is what Canelo's been doing. But people somehow still think this is Canelo from 6-7 years ago. And it's not. It's time people start opening their eyes. In fact, I think somebody will give Canelo a better fight if they actually recognize the type of fighter that he was. Because then and only then they could prepare for a fighter like that.
You know, Ranger, I had my evolution on my thoughts on Canelo really, I would say, after the Kovalev fight. I really became sold after that Kovalev fight. You know, I saw all the changes he made, everything that he learned from that Floyd fight, which is what we want to see young fighters that are developing. At every fight, they learn something new, right? We had the pleasure of talking to Xander Zayas last Tuesday. I was on that panel with you, and we asked him about that fight against this MMA fighter who refused to go down, and he said, I undoubtedly learned something from that fight. This guy is not going to go down, and I went rounds, and he taught me something right there, right? Very interesting. Guys, let's talk about what was a highlight for me. For me, this fight, 73,000 people. Canelo cements himself as the cash cow in the United States of America. A person of Mexican origin. He's not born here, and he's selling out the Dallas stadiums. It's phenomenal, right? But why are people on social media? Why were they attacking Billy Joe? The quitter argument, and I just want to put up a picture because one of the guys I really enjoyed, Israel Vasquez. I'm putting up this picture. Israel Vasquez, who was in a couple of Fight of the Years. In 2016, permanently lost vision in that eye that I've posted up there. Okay, that's what continuing to fight with serious eye injuries leads to. He's blind in that eye. It's actually, he doesn't have an eye there. It's a glass eye now. Go ahead, Drew.
You mind if I tell you why they're getting on Billy Joe Saunders? Since I'm the guy that betted on him. When you come at Kell Brook, Daniel Dubois for quitting because of eye problems, and then you put a statement out, I'd rather go out on my own shield and then sit in that corner and quit and did not go on out on your own shield. That's what you get for saying all that, for when you quit. And you know what? People can think, hey, Drew, you're an asshole for saying that because he could have went blind and everything. But at the end of the day, karma's a bitch. Okay, and he got karma because of it.
All right, so he deserved some fair criticism for his prior statements. Rod, do you agree that maybe that's why he didn't get sympathy?
No, I don't agree. And I do think he deserves sympathy because here's the deal. What we're looking at is a guy that had his eye socket broken and his cheekbone broken in 3 different spots. Let's start with that. Let's put that where it belongs, right? People all day they've been talking about, well, you know, Chris Algieri got his orbital bone broken and he still beat Ruslan Provodnikov. It was an orbital bone injury, correct? Not as worst, not as bad as the one Billy Joe Saunders received. That's one. 2, for a fighter to all of a sudden say, I'm going to go out there to lose my eye because I'm going to go out of my shield, it's stupid. It's stupid. And we cannot hold fighters accountable for everything they say because remember, we're in the entertainment business. And sometimes you got to say some things to put yourself in the middle of the spotlight, bro. You know? But if we put things where they go, had Billy Joe Saunders gone back out there in that ring, that would have been the end, the literal end of his career. In fact, I think his career might be over after this.
His career is over.
There are some statements from people in his camp that he may ultimately retire, and not anything to walk away from without your head up high. I mean, that was an incredible, attempt to dethrone the pound for pound champ. I mean, he gave it his all, and maybe it just wasn't enough. Chad Perez says Canelo throwing them sledgehammers. Ultimately, that power that Canelo possesses, it's like the get out of jail card. It doesn't matter if he's down on the scorecard. It's really his power is really evolving at 168. But you know what? You just brought up something about making noise in the division, making noise. And one guy that could not help himself is Boo Boo Andrade. And I got the video here.
I just want to say something, Dave.
Yes.
People need to start hitting them thumb up. There's a lot of people watching, and the thumb up numbers are not matching the people that are watching.
Man, I would definitely appreciate that. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe, guys, because we are the newest addition to the Leave It in the Ring family, and I could definitely use the help as soon as we get. And I'm coming from a modesty perspective here. I need that first 100 subs, guys. Help me out, and we will do some kind of merchandise because I want to move this show to the next level, guys. But Boo Boo Andrade and his post-fight conference, look at that T-shirt. Does he get an A for effort for at least making a custom T-shirt?
I asked him on Twitter. I tagged him on Twitter and asked, does he have a T-shirt that says Canelo scared to fight Boo Boo Andre? Just that, because I'll wear it on the Shoeshine if he can give me one.
You want one of those T-shirts? He probably sells them in his merchandise. Yeah, the T-shirt. But one of the guys, One of the guys who did this extremely well was a little-known guy at one time was Keith one-time Thurman when Paulie Malignaggi had the belt at 147 pound. He went right into that post-fight press conference and harassed Paulie Malignaggi. And, look where Keith Thurman ended up. He's still arguably one of the top welterweights in the division. I mean, this is a tactic, like it or not, disrespectful or not, that Bubu Andrade feels he has to do. Is it going to help him? Is it going to work in his favor or backfire?
I personally give him credit. In fact, I said in my show, he was too soft. He should have grabbed a water bottle from somebody's hands and thrown it at Canelo. He should have caused some mayhem in there. Look, I'm not against a fighter doing whatever it takes to get a fight. This is not, love and hip hop, guys. This is the fight game. This is the fight game, and we cannot be this sensitive, right? The problem is when people get offended because Canelo comes right back to the people that are offending him. The problem is when we are willing to allow people to go after Canelo, interrupt his night, interrupt his shine, but we're not willing to allow Canelo to come back with one of his own. This is the boxing game, man. You're gonna call people dumb. You're gonna call people bummed. You're gonna call people terrible fighters because it's also a psychological aspect to this game. And we gotta put things where they belong, man.
Hey, we got one caller right now. Let's take this call. Hopefully, it's a friendly call. 915, you're on the Shoeshine. Thank you for calling.
This is Dstyles Boxing. How's it going, guys?
It's going great, Dstyles. Thanks. Dstyles Boxing from YouTube, and of course, a member of the Leave It in the Ring family. Dstyles, háblame.
Well, look, I'm just calling in. I wanted to talk about the Billy Joe Saunders situation. What people need to understand, the way it was described to me was Billy Joe went back to his corner, and when they were going to use the end swell, they noticed that he looked like his face looked indented. It looked caved in. So then the corner did the right thing, and they stopped the fight. So
yeah, I could agree on that.
D-Style, be careful with using those words, or we might got people starting to allude that maybe there was egg weights in Canelo's hands. Because remember the dent in Deontay Wilder.
Well, actually, the funny part is that you can break or indent like the bones in the face, maybe not the skull, but the face, which is now where they're pointing at when it comes to all that. You know what I mean? But it's important to take note that I don't know why fans want fighters to protest so bad. Like, it's like, oh, I know they were going to stop the fight, but I wanted to see Billy Joe protest and say, no, don't stop it. Like, those are like irrelevant things that like I personally don't care about. Like, if the fight's over and they stopped it, it's over. Whether the fighter's protesting it or not is kind of irrelevant to me. Like, because it's over, like it's as simple as that. So I just wanted to point that out because I know people say, well, Billy Joe didn't protest it though. Okay, he didn't protest it, but I mean, why is that so important to you? Like, well, why is that something you need when like they decided to stop it?
One guy who did
that's just how I feel about that.
One guy who did a fantastic job of protesting was the guy on the undercard, the guy who came out of retirement, a 37-year-old, I got to get his name right, Katsunari Takayama, who put in a fantastic performance on the undercard. Nobody expected that from a 37-year-old aging champion. I thought that fight was ended prematurely. There was no warning, and he was still shadowboxing when that fight was called off. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I agree. Look, different situation.
Yeah. No visible eye damage. But again, with people who have fought on with continued eye damage, Paulie Malignaggi versus Cotto, that was a fracture nowhere near the type of injury Billy Joe Saunders sustained. Margarito, again, not the same injury, but you can see visibly the effects on Antonio Margarito today. You can go look at what his pictures look like today, and unfortunately, his eyes are nowhere near level from those injuries. And again, I just mentioned Israel Vasquez, who's permanently blind and has a glass eye. Those are just a few boxers who've gone on to fight with a fracture. But you're right, D-Styles. And D-Styles, I know why you're calling, because Drew Evo lost a bet. Are we ready to get to that? Or do you guys want to chime in on this Boo Boo Andrade? Because while I have the three of you on, is there anybody, and David Benavidez was just doing a live show with Fight Hub TV, and he thinks he's the guy because he says he's got the power and he's got the ring IQ, and that Caleb Plant doesn't stand a chance, but David Benavidez does.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Oh, man. Who wants to comment on this thing first?
Listen, I'm going to just go ahead and say, without even breaking the fight, if the fight happens, I'll do a complete breakdown. Canelo Alvarez will destroy David Benavidez. He's not going to outbox him.
Oh, whoa.
He's going to destroy David Benavidez. I can understand why people are very, very convinced that Benavidez is the guy. You're looking at a Benavidez who is destroying stationary fighters that lack upper body movement, and he's looking impressive doing it.
Or head
he's not
movement.
going to face that guy.
Head.
He's going to face a Canelo that has a lot of upper body movement. He's going to face Canelo that's going to move in on him and keep him locked in. Where is Benavidez' inside game? I don't know. I've never seen it. It doesn't exist. Do you actually think Canelo's going to stand there so Benavidez can go? No.
With the shoe shine.
With the shoe shine. I'm telling you guys, I just don't see Canelo being touched right now. Right now. I'm not saying till he retires. I'm saying right now, man, it's hard to beat this kid.
And Drew, I see you're chomping at the bit.
I'm going to go. Here's my prediction right now if they fight. He has no inside game whatsoever, like Ranger said. And Canelo, 5'8", Benavidez, what is he, 6'1", 6'2"?
Mm-hmm.
He relies on his reach for fights and with power and everything. Canelo's going to get inside, bam, bam to the body all night, and occasionally hit the head and get a late round stoppage. He's going to stop David Benavidez. It's going to be a long night for that boy. He has no chance in hell to defeat Canelo Alvarez. I don't even think he beats Caleb Plant or Jamal Charlo.
I don't think he beats Callum Smith. I don't think Benavidez beats Callum Smith. To be
I don't
quite
think
honest.
so either. I don't even think he beats Demetrius Andre.
So I don't know what people.
I don't think
it
he
is what.
beats Triple G. I don't think he beats Triple G either. I'll say that to you right. I don't think he beats Triple G.
So,
Well-
I'm ready for this pop though.
You ready for the fight? All right, let's move on to the last segment because I did want to make this a short show tonight. But listen, D-Style, you still on the phone with us, right? D-Style.
Yeah, but let me make my point.
Sure.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, let me make my point here, and then I'll because I'm driving and on the phone. I want to see it, so I'm gonna have to hang up, right? But here's what I will say, okay? Drew, be careful what you wish for. I know you were saying, I can't wait. I want to do a pie bit with D-Style. I can't wait. Well, there you go. You had your bet, right? That's number one. Second, Billy Joe Saunders, careful what you wish for too, you know? As far as David Benavidez, I got to be honest, man. I think he has really good hand speed for the division. Mm-hmm. I would favor Canelo against him, but I do think it'll be a tough fight. I think Canelo probably wins a decision or by late round stoppage. But, I mean, that's a tough dude right there. You know what I mean? He really is. David is still young. David could still improve. I think he's in a good position right now that he's not in line to fight Canelo with a belt because I think he should keep fighting and improving himself as a fighter at the moment.
That's a good idea.
If he fights Canelo anywhere in the next 2 years, Canelo's definitely going to win. So that's what I think about that. With that said, I don't think Boo Boo Andrade beats David Benavidez at all. I think Boo Boo Andrade gets pressured, and I think he gets stopped late by David.
That's a fight that I would like to see as well. I mean, these are all very, very good fights. And D-Style, if you want to watch and watch in the chat, we appreciate the bet. Don't forget to watch D-Styles tomorrow. And by the way, everyone go back to last Tuesday where he interviewed Danny Roman on HCP because Danny Roman will be on the undercard this Saturday, and that is a very exciting fight. all those fights. Those are going to be some pretty good fights on Showtime Sports. So definitely check out.
We're gonna have Danny. We're gonna have Danny Roman back on. I don't know if it'll be immediately after that, but we're gonna have him on again. So I can't wait to talk to him after his fight. So I'm pretty confident he's gonna win that fight. And I have another guest that I'm working on for next week. And the only clue I'm going to give you guys is that you talked about him today. That's the only clue I'm going to give you. But I can't say anything until it's confirmed. But
yeah,
thanks a lot, guys. Peace out. I'll be watching, Drew.
Yeah.
Hey, Drew.
I think he's getting ready. He went to go get ready.
I want you to tell him. I want him to scream Billy Joe like before he takes it, man. He's going to do it for Billy Joe. He's got to scream Billy Joe. I'm out.
All right, D-Styles. Thanks a lot, man. D-Styles. So I believe Drew is getting ready. We have another caller, and we could take him right now, Ranger. Let's take this call.
Let's take
281, you're on the Shoeshine.
Yo, what's up?
What's up? Who's this?
Chad. My name's Chad. What's up, man?
Hey, Chad. What do you want to say?
homie.
Chad Perez, thanks for calling, man.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man, no problem. Bro, I'm telling you, going on the Benavidez thing, I do agree with Ranger, especially talking about the fact that Al Heyman constantly keeps his fighters with low competition, constantly. It's hurting his fighters. I just believe that Benavidez, I think he would beat an Andrade, whatever his name is. I don't know. I don't think he's very good either, Andrade. And he's at 160, isn't he?
Andrade is the champ at 160, yes.
Yeah, so that, I mean, I doubt that he would go up to 168 to fight a Benavidez, especially a Benavidez with no belt. But, yeah, man, I definitely think that Canelo puts away Benavidez simply because of the soft competition. Those guys at PBC aren't really being tested the way they should be. I mean, they've got a huge stable of fighters, but they never put them against each other, and so that's ultimately hurting them as fighters. But yeah, just wanted to drop by.
All right, Chad. Hey, I really appreciate you giving us a phone call, and we're getting ready for Drew Evo. So if you want to get back in the room and watch this, now the ramifications of making a bet against Canelo. But I do have to say this, man. G Funky and Drew Evo are the only people in the circle that we're involved in that said overwhelmingly and got it correct that Burchelt was going to lose. And he put money on that one. Those are the only two people in our circle. And that's the one that D-Styles took his pie for going against Oscar Valdez. So anyway,
now it's the tables have turned now.
The tables have turned. Drew. Oh, yeah. Drew, I think you taking a phone call?
No, I want to know if I can take the pie now.
All right. Let me get this, because I'm going to edit this. All right, if you're just joining us, it is the Shoeshine. My co-host Philly Irish Drew Evo. We've been podcasting for 2 years, barely going into our first year on YouTube. Sometimes you get it right, and sometimes you get it wrong. And what we're going to see right now is somebody who thought Billy Joe Saunders was going to win against Canelo. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out. Drew, any last words before you take the pie? The first pie.
At least I took this pie with some dignity and didn't bitch about it.
No, I didn't.
You know who we talking about.
I don't know. This is all friendly chivalry. Let's have it. Let's do it.
Take the pie.
You see me?
Yeah.
No.
Oh!
It's fucking good.
It's
fucking good. That's some good shit.
He took the pie.
That's some good shit, guys. It's some good pie.
Hey, a man that
I
keeps
would offer you guys some, but it had my face in it.
A man that keeps his word, man. I really appreciate everybody. Go ahead, Drew.
Fuck it.
How's that taste?
He can't talk.
Like tres leches. Like tres leches. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into the chat. G Funky. Don't miss HCP. Are you down with HCP? Rawboxing at
I'm dead.
Rawboxingtv. Thank you for being a part of this historic Shoeshine episode. Drew Egg says LT Boxing y Desmadre. Thank you, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe to the Shoeshine and check out all the great broadcasting on the Leave It in the Ring, and subscribe over to Rawboxingtv. And we'll catch you next week on the Shoeshine. Peace.
Peace.